Mrs. Finkelstein is announcing the winners at the end of the day, and I still haven't got any ideas. What did you write about?" Opera was referring to the sports essay contest WART-TV was holding. The winner would get to do the sports broadcasts for a whole week. Everybody was making a big deal about it. Everybody but me. I had it in the bag, and I knew it. The way I figured, when God made me, he substituted all of my grace and coordination genes with writing ones. I may not be able to tie my shoes without ending up in intensive care, but believe me, I could write. So, of course, I was going to win the writing contest. It was only fair. All I had to do was whip up something and hand it in before the end of the day. That was the easy part. Surviving Jim, well, that might be a little tougher. "Hey, McDoogle!" Coach Kilroy shouted. "Can you walk yet?" I looked at my legs, hoping they were missing, or at least broken into lots of little pieces. No such luck. They looked just as healthy as ever. "Great," I moaned. "Just great." "Get in there and quarterback for a while," he ordered. I rose unsteadily to my feet and looked at the other team. There were Gary the Gorilla and half a dozen of his overfed and undereducated goons dragging their bodies and knuckles up to the scrimmage line. There was no missing the gleam in their eyes and the saliva drooling out of the corners of their mouths as they eagerly waited to turn me into football shoe goo. I turned back to Opera and shouted, "Why don't you write your story on hockey? You're a big hockey nut. Write about hockey." "That's a great idea," he shouted as he crumpled up his 1,234th piece of paper and started number 1,235. "Thanks." I shrugged. It was no biggie. The way I figured, since I was on my way to meet God, I might as well squeeze in a final good deed to impress him. 20 minutes later, I limped down the hall toward my locker. Somehow I had made it through another grueling class of gym. Opera was still babbling on about the writing contest. "I can't believe you haven't started," he shouted over his music while tearing into his second bag of chips. "Wally's a pro," Wall Street said as she joined us from the girls' locker room. "Pros can do that sort of thing in their sleep, right, Wally?" Before I could shrug and fake some modesty, another voice drifted through the air. "Hi, Wally." It was as lovely as a spring day, as soft as a rose petal, and as cunning as a carnival barker. I turned around to see Melissa Sue Avarice, the most beautiful girl in our school. She smiled her perfect every-tooth-in-place smile and batted her baby blues in my direction. "I'm really looking forward to seeing you on TV, Wally." I opened my mouth. It was time to play it suave and cool, time to impress her with my wit and intelligence. Yeah, sure." Well, so much for wit and intelligence. Not only did her beauty tie my tongue, but it also seemed to be knotting my brain. "What makes you so sure he's going to win?" Opera shouted over his music. "Because he's so smart," Melissa cooed. "Besides, if he doesn't win, how will he take me to meet Vincent Thrasher, WART-TV's ultra-hunk anchorman?" I nodded eagerly. Duh. She gave me a pathetic look, the same type you give animals lying on the side of the freeway. She forced a smile and headed down the hall. "Good luck, Wally Dolly," she called over her shoulder. Wall Street groaned. "Wally Dolly? Give me a break." I nodded. Wall Street punched me in the gut. "Knock it off. She's just a girl." I continued watching Melissa float down the hall. Finally, my mouth started working. "That's no girl, Wall Street. That's poetry in motion. Melissa Sue Avarice is, well, she's... Opera, who was also staring after her, finished the thought with a longing sigh. "She's an extra-large order of..."